Hello, everybody, and welcome to our very first episode of Soapy. I am Rebecca Budig.
I'm Kevin Fisher, Leo Stark.
You're Greg Rikaart. Why are you doing that?
Well, I'm also Greg Rikaart because they know me as Leo, as Kevin. They know you as...
They don't know who you are.
They know you as Taylor, as Greenlee, as Michelle, as Hayden.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
They do. So welcome. We're very excited for you to be here with us on our first episode of Soapy. And we're really excited because whether you like daytime or nighttime, we're sort of celebrating all things soapy.
And it's going to be a lot of fun. Between the two of us, Rebecca and I have, well, I have about 23 years experience on soap operas. You have about 123 years experience. So we know a thing or two about a thing or two.
Oh my God. Well, I was on Guiding Light.
Starting in 1937 when it was a radio show, y'all. You were saying, go on.
So on Guiding Light from 1995 to 1998, and then I went over to All My Children. So I was in New York for a lot of my soap time, and then I came to General Hospital here in LA, and now I'm on The Bold and Beautiful.
Yeah.
I know.
You're really making the rounds.
What about you? Thanks, Greg. Okay, so this is what it's going to be like, guys, so stick around, because this is what it's like. He just harasses me.
I don't harass her.
He does. It all started because we were neighbors, by the way.
We were neighbors for almost 20 years.
Yeah. I mean, who knew when I met you that this is where we would be today? So I would see you at the Emmys occasionally, and I remember we said something to each other. This is before we really got to know each other.
What did you say to me? Do you remember? I love you.
I love
You're
your
amazing.
Work. I love your work. You're amazing.
Well, Becky Jo, why don't you tell everybody what happened on that fateful day when you were driving past my house?
So I was looking for a house, and I was driving by, and I see this guy hosing his sidewalk or his garden. I don't know what he was doing. And I see him, and I go, wait a minute, that's Greg Rikaart. So I rolled down my window, and there was a for sale sign on this house. And I was like, Greg, Rebecca, remember me? From All My Children?
Yeah, and I was like, hey, can you stop stalking me? This is my home.
I said, is this your house for sale? And you said it is. And then we went in and
Well, what was funny, what I remember about that is the house had been on the market for about a month. And that was the first weekend my realtor said, let's take the week off. Let's not do a showing. So, you know, the house was a mess. There was laundry piled up on the floor.
Cat
and as
manure,
if on cue, cat manure.
Cat litter.
As if on cue, right when we opened the door, it's as if my old cat Zoe had said, now's the time I'm going to take a giant dump. Because we walked into the house and it just stunk to high heaven like
so
cat
funny.
poop. And you walked in and I was like, oh, she's never going to be into this house. It's a mess. It smells like cat shit.
Yeah.
And
I bought it. What does that say about me?
I think that the Alzheimer's had already taken hold.
Oh my God. And so that started our relationship.
Yeah. We were neighbors for a long time.
I know. I had Charlotte before you had Monty.
We potted together during the pandemic.
I know.
They were siblings for all intents and purposes.
They were. I think Charlotte still thinks of him as like her brother, but yeah.
Well, the way Monty treated you on the phone the other day means that he still has a comfort level with you because he was sassy and salty.
He was so salty.
But you know what? He only does that. He will only do that. He basically only does that with us. So that just speaks to the comfort level he has around you.
Yeah. He was trying to be funny.
Yeah, he was trying to be funny.
Well, he learned from the worst. So
you're an easy person to be uncomfortable around.
This guy's a prankster, by the way. I would find things in my house. But I pranked you too. Mm-hmm. Didn't I put a cutout of me? Wasn't there like a cutout from something? And I put it in your bathroom?
Yeah, talk about... It was the most horrifying thing to ever walk into. There was a cutout of you in my home. Terrifying.
It scared you. I got you.
Yes, and I used to put your headshots where they belonged in your toilet.
Yeah, you did. I would open my toilet. Oh my God. Oh my God. And then you would move things. You would move things in my pantry.
I don't remember that.
Oh yeah. You'd come in and you'd eat. You'd come in and you would just start opening up all the cabinets and what do I want to eat? Anyway. So we decided, since we know each other so well, that we should interview all the people that we know and people that we don't know.
Yes.
In this genre.
And celebrate our genre.
Yeah.
And coming from a place of love and reverence and respect for the incredibly challenging and hard and fun work that we get to do on daytime soaps.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I started on Guiding Light, like I said, in 1995.
19, yes.
And, you know, being on a soap in New York was very different from being on a soap in LA, I feel like. It was different. I mean, the actors were different. The guest stars were all different. They all came from Broadway.
Oh, yeah.
But the crew was a little different. It just had a very different sort of vibe than LA.
And then did you move to LA and then start working on General Hospital?
No, I moved to LA and then they moved all my children to LA. So I went back to New York, finished it in New York, came back out, and then it was canceled. And then I went back to New York to live, and then I came back out.
I forgot that you were in New York. Do you remember I used to have to take your mail like once a month and I would ship it off to New York when you guys were in New York?
Yeah, I know. And you would send me stuff in that too, I think sometimes.
Probably.
Yeah. But you started out in primetime.
Yeah, my first regular job was on the last season of Dawson's Creek.
Show killer.
I knew she was going to make that
Show
joke.
killer.
How dare you? Yeah, no, I guess I did kill that show. No, that show was ending, and I just happened to be there for the last season.
Okay.
But yeah, I had spent my first 3 years here, as many young actors do, working odd jobs. I painted houses. I waited tables was the way that I, paid my bills. And
I know, weren't you working at
California
Pizza Kitchen when you got the call that you got
that's right.
Dawson's Creek?
Yeah, I was. I just clocked in for my Friday evening shift and got the call from my manager that I was leaving on Monday morning for North Carolina. So I still had to work, the rest of the evening and finish out my shift, and then I was off and running.
You're probably a much more pleasant waiter that night.
I was very happy that night.
Yeah.
Very happy. Well,
Can I take your order? It will be my last.
Well, we work, before we're working, we work so hard to try to get to get your foot in the door.
I know.
And it really felt like I had a lot of hard work, sweat and tears had paid off because I was getting close on a lot of jobs and then not getting them over and over and over again. And that is, that's really hard. I'm sure you had that experience too.
Life of the actor. Yes, of course.
And so then it felt like, okay, I finally got invited to the party.
Yeah.
And then that job lasted for about 6 months for me. And then I came back to LA, and it was March of 2003. And then my job in Young and Restless came along 2 months after that. So
that's crazy.
I know. I got very, very lucky. After a string of bad luck for those 3 years where I was always the guy that didn't get the part, suddenly I had a nice little
Do you remember any actors that you auditioned with that went on to become, big stars?
Yeah, of course. I screen tested for a pilot once with Zach Quinto, who went on to big fame with Star Trek and Broadway and whatnot. And then actually on Dawson's Creek, when I was flying for my first episode, on the flight with me was Jensen Ackles, who had just wrapped up 3 years on Days of Our Lives. And he was the first actor that I knew that had worked on soaps. And we were in a lot of scenes together, and he had what I now have, what you have, but something I didn't understand back then, just this understanding of where the cameras were, where the lighting was. And we were doing a scene together one day, and it was my coverage. Halfway through, am I boring you? This is a good story. Halfway through the scene, I'm going to tell them, you don't care. He just moved his body like 2 inches. And when we were done, I said, what was that? Why did you move? He said, I was in your light. Something I would never have been aware of, but having worked in soaps, he had an understanding of the whole process. And he was efficient and great, and has gone on to big things.
I have a hard time thinking about lighting and all that stuff when I'm in a scene. But I'm short, so everyone has to look at everyone can see their shadow on me. I'm never causing a shadow on anyone.
Are you like this all the time?
Unless
Unless
I'm with one of my grandkids. Then I...
Oh yeah, let's talk about you being a grandma.
I will say Okay, it's kind of crazy because I'm on all my children. I was like the young,
Sorry.
the young thing, and I worked a ton. And then you sort of evolve into like the older woman, but you're not matriarch status. God, I can read his brain. It is like a ticker tape right here. That's why I started to laugh.
There's a lot of jokes.
A lot of comebacks that I know that he's thinking. But it's an adjustment. It's a weird thing, but I love it. I was going to say,
being a grandmother.
As you get older in this business, I actually got a part in a Christmas movie after I did General Hospital.
As
and
Scrooge?
I was playing. No. I was the lead's best friend, okay? And at the end of the movie, I get pregnant. And I'm like, well, this is biologically impossible, I think, at this point. But I remember doing it, and I loved doing the movie. It was so much fun. But I just remember I'm playing younger than I am, and I don't like it.
Oh.
I want to be my age, and I want to be wrinkles and all. And what?
I was just thinking that most people your age are no longer with us.
So playing a grandma on The Bold and the Beautiful, I'm very proud to play.
That's great. But it is interesting, and you touched on this, that when you were Greenlee, you were the ingenue, right? Mm-hmm. And no one tells you when you make that shift, right? From, like, I was the young guy on Young and Restless, and then I don't know when it happened, but now I'm the guy that people refer to as Mr. Stark on Days of Our Lives, and that I am someone who gives advice to the young kids on the show. And when did that happen? I don't know when, but here we are. I'm not a grandfather yet.
I'll just wait. It's right around the corner. I know someone who may be playing a grandfather, who we have as a guest coming up.
Oh, yeah.
Is he a grandfather on YNR?
Yes, on YNR and in real life.
Yes.
But we have a little trivia to get to before we
talk about our guest.
So we're going to do a thing every episode.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask you a trivia question.
Okay.
And based on what I understand about you, I think you're going to know 0 answers.
What do you want to bet?
$5.
$5.
$5 per question.
Okay.
And every time you get a question right, I give you $5. And every time you get a question wrong, you give me $5.
Okay.
And then at the end of our little run of Soapy episodes,
we're just going to keep a tally?
We'll keep a tally.
Okay.
How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Okay. So, which publication first used the term soap opera?
Well, that would be before Soap Digest. And, okay. I don't know, but you're going to tell me when we come back, aren't you?
I will tell you when we come back
Stick
with
around.
The one, the only, Mr. Eric Braeden.
Welcome back to Soapy. Greg has a trivia question for me. Okay, don't keep me in suspense. Which publication first coined the term soap opera?
Oh, so just to be clear, you don't know the answer. Okay.
$5 is really what you want? Okay.
Okay. In 1939, Newsweek.
Newsweek.
There was a publication that a year earlier, called Christian Century, that a year earlier referred to them as soap tragedies. But I guess soap operas were the next logical step, and that's the one that stuck. But at the time, the creators of shows did not like the term.
See, I always thought that soap opera came from, like, they were selling soap.
Yeah.
I mean, wasn't that what I was, I think that was what I was told. I guess I should do my research.
Okay. So,
all right. Let's play another game.
Okay.
Okay?
Let's do it.
Let's play Soapy's 2 questions under 2 minutes.
Okay.
Can you do that?
I think I can.
Okay. All right. Kiss, marry, destroy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I destroy all of the characters that you have played? Serious question.
Sure.
Okay.
You can destroy all the characters that I. Okay, that's evident.
If I had to pick one, let's just go Greenlee, because I feel like she's one of your more iconic roles.
Okay.
And let's give Taylor a break and let her
Let her live.
Yeah,
Thanks.
let's let her live.
Thanks.
That's who I would destroy. Who would I kiss?
Yes, under 2 minutes, Greg.
I would marry Billy Flynn
Okay.
because I love Billy Flynn. And I would.
Was that the character name?
No, that's the actor. Oh, I have to say the character name. Okay, so Chad Demira.
Oh,
because
let's know how you really feel. I would marry Billy Flynn.
it's an art in imitating life because
Okay.
Leo loves Chad
Okay,
Demira.
okay,
I love
okay,
Billy.
okay.
Okay, I'm gonna marry Billy, and I would kiss. I don't know who I would kiss. I'm gonna come back to that one. You do your.
Okay. I'd kiss Victor Newman. I'd marry. I really loved the character of Finn when I was on General Hospital because he was quirky.
Who's that?
Michael Easton.
Oh.
So I'd probably marry Finn because we were going to get married on the show. I probably would marry Finn, and then destroy. Oh well, I mean,
I set myself up, didn't I?
both of your characters. I would obliterate them.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I'm gonna kiss. I'm gonna kiss Josh Morrow. I think he'd be a good kisser.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Okay, I have another question.
Go for it.
Name a soap scene that you will never forget.
Oh gosh, just one? There's a lot, but I think I'm gonna go with. In 2005, Kevin was going to commit suicide, and Michael, his brother, played by Christian LeBlanc, comes to Kevin's apartment and talks him down from the ledge, if you would. And those were really, really challenging, emotional scenes, and we always love to get to play that challenging, emotional stuff. And Christian was and is so spectacular and knew the gift we had in these scenes and really made sure that we spent a lot of time prepping them. And I was really proud of them. They were really good. And Christian and I both won Emmys for those scenes.
Just an Emmy.
Just an Emmy.
Yeah,
I mean,
just
it's
that.
just the Emmy. It's
I
the
mean,
only one.
Whatever.
There's no others.
Oh, whatever.
How about you?
Okay. I would say there are many that I will never forget, especially from all my children. But I remember when Leo left and he went over the cliff and I was hanging on this branch for like all day. I just remember waking up that morning crying because Josh was leaving. We just had a special little relationship and connection, and I was really sad to see him go. It was a long day. It was emotional. Anyway, yeah.
All right.
Soaps have changed a lot over the years. At least, I mean, when I started, we would have rehearsals, and we had the luxury of time. We did one episode a day. I mean, it's kind of hard to believe that I used to do one episode a day. I mean, now we're doing like 4 or 5 in one day.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
And also just the way so many of us have evolved and moved from one show to the next.
Yeah.
But one person who has been a constant on one show for over 40 years.
Yeah.
He is the ultimate pro, consummate professional. He is the most resilient, one of the most intelligent, talented people I have ever come across in my life. It's been an honor to get to work with him. Is our very first guest, the one and only Eric Braeden.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
I saw you say in an interview before that you wanted to write, which you did end up doing. You wrote a book.
Yes, writing is the most difficult job in our profession.
They start with the blank page.
Precisely. And it's so, it's not appreciated enough. It really isn't. We who say those words that they write get all the accolades and sometimes almost feel, not right about that.
I think being married to a writer has changed my perspective on writing, especially on the soaps, where we have so much dialogue, so much to say.
That, I think, is the hardest job in Hollywood.
Agreed.
Writing for a soap? Whoa.
And
I
it
mean,
never
this
ends. And it never
It
ends.
never ends.
Yeah.
It never ends. I don't know how Josh Griffith, who is the head writer on our show, does it. I see him sometimes wander around, farmer's market and all that. And so you're talking to yourself again?
I think that's part of his process.
Yes, of course it is. You have to.
So let's go back to the beginning.
Yes.
We did a little bit of research, Rebecca and I, and you were a little reluctant to take on the role of Victor, yeah?
Very. I had done, as you may have known, and probably guest starred more than almost any other actor in this town. Everything. Gunsmoke, Hawaii Five-O, Mission Impossible,
Mary Tyler Moore.
FBI, Mary Tyler
Patrol,
Moore.
yeah.
It goes on and on. Barnaby Jones. Oh, Barnaby Jones was hilarious.
You're doing a bunch of guest stars.
Yes, all over. And I had done some films.
Yes, yes, of course. You starred
I've
in
done
a
a
film.
wonderful film called
yes.
Colossus,
Uh-huh.
the Foreman Project, which
Yes.
showed 3 days or 4 days ago.
A Turner
The
Classic.
Grammar's
through
Chinese.
Turner Classic Movies.
Precisely. And I have to say, it was kind of sad sitting there watching the film because I had not sufficiently thanked the writer, or the director, Joe Sargent, or the producer, Stanley Chase, or James Bridges, the writer. And I thought, wow, you know, we actors, we get all the accolades. And you just, as you get older, I'm 49 now, as you get older, you begin to reflect and you say, you know, we are so involved with our own careers and therefore so selfish, we forget all these people who make all this work.
Yeah.
And I was kind of saddened because they're all dead now. They're all gone. And anyway, there was a recession in town. They made almost no films for about 2 or 3 years. The top agency in town, I was with them, and they said, please don't do any television. It may take a while, 2 or 3 years. Well, I had a son, born in 1970. And I said, I wonder how long I can hold out. And at that time, as soon as you did television again, that was it. You were no longer considered to star in films.
Right.
Interesting. At that time, it was a very strict division. So, a series of guest star roles followed. So then, a friend of mine, Dabney Coleman, do you remember
Sure.
him, Dabney Coleman?
From 9 to 5.
9 to 5.
Yeah.
The businessman,
yes,
9 to 5.
yes, yeah.
Played many other.
Yeah, yeah.
He's a very good actor, wonderful actor. He was one of the best tennis players in town. So he and I often played tennis. And afterwards, we said, no, so what are you doing? I said, well, I was asked to go to CBS, I think, to talk about a soap. What the hell is a soap? He said, which one? I said, yeah, so, do it, you'll love it. Upon his recommendations, I actually go to the interview. I didn't want to go. I said, what's a soap? So that's when I met Ed Scott, Nancy Wyatt.
Was Wes Kinney there back then too?
He came later.
Okay.
Respected him enormously, enormously. And did the interview and said to the agent, I said, only for 3 months. I don't. Been 45 years now. This is a long history. Who had a lot to do with it was Wes Kinney, who you just mentioned. You know why? He taught me more about directing than I'd worked with a lot of directors. He would come onto a set and say, love what you did. It may have been dreadful. Love what you did. Could you just do me a favor and do it this or that?
Yeah.
He took the wind out of the sails.
Right.
I've worked with directors who were sadists. Not with me, because I don't take that shit lightly. I go after them right away. So, but I've seen them do it to extras, to smaller parts, very sadistic. I resent the hell out of it, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's all collaborative, to your point before, and if you're not going to respect what the other people are doing in their work, then it's hard to respect the person who's not being respectful.
Your scenes with Christian LeBlanc and Judy Chapman, right?
Yeah.
They were wonderful. They were priceless.
Well, but that's going back to what you were saying earlier. It's where you can be so connected and do some really good work, but we would cut up all the time as well because, Christian just bounces off the walls of that place.
Well,
Judith is in her own world, and then we'd have to find some truth to the scenes and make it all work. You know?
Yes.
so you said yes to the soap, but you also had a really interesting character. I mean, Victor Newman is a love to hate, I guess. I mean, but you gave him a quality to love, right? So he was
That's a very good point. The reason I'm really staying on the show, have stayed all this time, is because I had a conversation with Bill Bell. I said, Bill, I'm tired of playing bad guys. It's dehumanizing.
Yeah.
It empties you.
Yeah.
Always a bad guy. So would you kindly imbue the character with a background that explains why he is who he is? And the genius of Bill Bell was one day I did a scene with Melody, Thomas Scott, who plays Nikki.
She's the greatest.
She asked me about my background. and was mysterious. Victor was sort of a mysterious person. General City, no one knew his background, why he made his money, etc. And I played that scene about an orphanage. Victor had been left at an orphanage at the age of 7 by a destitute mother. And her father was a ne'er-do-well drunk, and reminded me of so many things that I knew growing up in post-war Germany. And it touched a chord. I went to my dressing room after the scene. I said, "No, I'm staying." That was the reason.
That's incredible.
The only reason I stayed. Because I could see how that opened up, you know, a whole world of possibilities.
Also, in a similar way, when Kevin first came on, he was a bad guy. And I just remember thinking he was mistreating women so badly. And they hadn't yet written what ended up being true, but I was like, he must have had an abusive dad, because he had no one to set the example for how to treat women, anyone else really, with honor and respect. And it's interesting how much, again, just going back to how it's collaborative, what my vague broad stroke idea was ended up becoming what they wrote in a way that I never could have, really, with the details and Christian and Judith and all that.
I find like now it's hard on some soaps don't give the background of a character so that they have that to latch onto. But because I was on All My Children and I played a bad girl, whatever. But Agnes Nixon created this whole reason for being the way she was, and it was so fun to play because there was a lot of depth there, and it was really fun. So.
It's in the writing.
It's in the writing.
It's in the writing.
It's in the writing.
But the best villains, when written well, have humanity and the vulnerability and all the things that make the audience just want more.
The fans also fell in love with Victor, and when they see you, do they treat you like you're Victor? Do they ever say anything to you? Because I used to be like, Greenlee, you're so mean. I used to get yelled at on the street and things like that.
You know, never really.
That was just by people who knew you.
This is interesting. I only have encountered 99.9% of the time very nice reactions, nice people.
Yeah.
I all over the place. I mean, all over. In Kentucky, in Tennessee, in Louisiana, in Toronto, in Istanbul, in Tel Aviv, and you know, always very nice people.
That's nice.
Really, I have to say.
I think when anytime you run into a fan, I think their excitement or enthusiasm over meeting the great Victor Newman, would supersede any bad feelings they have about something Victor's doing that they don't approve of.
True. Yes, and you know, we're in an art business.
Yeah.
We all know what we think of each other privately. We all go home, as everyone else does, with thoughts about this or that and that, and you know, we all do very ordinary things in our lives, and yet sometimes when you then go out and you meet people and you are approached in a way where you almost kind of mythologize and all that, it's strange.
Yeah.
You know, and it is very dangerous psychologically, I think, for mostly young actors to deal with that. The chasm between who you know you are and what they think you are is sometimes too big of a chasm to overcome. And I think all agents in this town should tell their actors, fame is a bitch. Fame is a very dangerous thing. When I did Colossus at Universal Studios, that was the old-time Hollywood, you suddenly starred in a film. Everyone in town, all the maitre d's, all the restaurants read, starring Eric Braeden. Within weeks, you went to a restaurant, who said, his name was Eric Braeden. Oh, yes, Mr. Braeden. What? Do you understand? What? And it's not too long ago, you almost couldn't pay your rent. So the discrepancy between who you know you are and who they think you are, who you suddenly also become, that's also reality. Guys at the gate of a studio saying, "Good morning, Mr. Braeden." They didn't even look at you before. Do you understand?
You get a false sense of your own importance.
It's difficult to deal with. And agents do not prepare their clients well enough for that.
Agreed.
Fame is a bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
I am grateful that, if I go home, they think I'm famous, but here nobody cares. Nobody knows who I am here. And I love it that way, because if I had any more than the inkling of notoriety that I have, I don't think I would be able to handle it.
I went almost into depression. I remember taking walks with my wife, and I said, I don't know what's the matter. I don't like this. Because your friends also react differently to you. They see you being picked up by a limousine, they see you. It's such an odd thing, man.
Yeah.
Your wife has played an important part in a lot of your decisions, hasn't she?
Very.
So when you got the soap, did you consult with her?
Yes. Very importantly. Because after about 3 months, I didn't want to do it anymore. I was depressed. The speed with which we work in soaps is unlike any other medium, as you both know.
Yes.
It is so fast. The pressure of learning all that dialogue. The most I did in one day was 62 pages. You just you cram. And often, as you know, Greg, or 10 pages, 15 pages, 20 pages, and you got to learn that shit, Anyway, I was depressed. And she knows me very well, obviously. So she said, why don't you look at it as a challenge, as you do in sports? And you challenged me. I said, oh, yeah? Let's go. That changed my mind.
Yeah.
It really did. I said, okay, I will take these limiting parameters and make something out of it. Make it as best as I can.
Yeah.
You mentioned possibly leaving Y&R at one point. What exactly kept you, what has kept you at the show? Did another soap ever try and poach you? It's kind of a two-part question.
What made me want to leave are usually contract negotiations,
Yes.
almost only.
Okay.
And we always worked it out. So, no. Well, as far as other soaps are concerned, I think I've let it be pretty well known. I love doing what I'm doing. And I love Y&R. I'm proud of it. And we've become number one. We are number one for 39 years now, I think.
That's right.
And the longest of any soap. And that was my plan when I decided, after my wife's admonition and encouragement, to look at it as a challenge. I said, now let's make it the best we can.
Love it.
But surely when you were doing contract negotiations, someone came sniffing around. Surely when you were doing contract negotiations, someone came sniffing around.
Well, rumors here and there, but
Yeah.
No, I don't want to talk about that.
Okay,
Yeah,
fair enough.
so once I took a trip to New York, I remember, in the early years. They asked me to come to see someone in New York. So.
Yeah,
Well, I'm glad you
The early
stayed.
years. Huh?
I'm glad you stayed.
yeah.
Yes. Well, I raised a family here in Los Angeles,
That's amazing.
I love LA. I love LA.
too.
I don't give a damn what anyone says. And when I get some fans writing about Hollywood and liberal California, I said, up yours.
Yeah.
This is the most productive state in the nation.
Yes.
We are.
It's the greatest city.
What do you say has changed the most from when you started on the soap to now? Because soaps have really evolved. We used to...
Very simply and very graphically speaking, when Bill Bell was there, he was a genius. A genius. We had far more money to do scenes. It was grander in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
You're such a champion of the genre too, because again, all the parameters with which we have to work in, right?
Wow.
Like doing 60 pages in a day is not unheard of. It happens, and it's not in a day. It's in a few hours.
Right.
And I've always admired and have taken a cue from you on really just being so celebratory of the work that we all do in this sort of intense, like fever pitch pace at which we do it.
People have no idea.
I know.
I have no idea.
Nighttime actors, theater actors, I've done it all, have no clue
Yeah.
Yeah.
what we do. None.
Do you think that's why when you do, if you go back and do a guest spot on a primetime show, or when you did Titanic, if that's why it's maybe not as satisfying as one might imagine because we're so used to the pace?
It's bloody boring.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
both know, we make very few friends doing a soap
Yeah.
because you have no time to get to know each
Yeah,
other.
exactly.
I remember all the friends I did nighttime with. 100 Rifles, Burt Reynolds, Jim Brown, we talked, Raquel, Planet of the Apes, Colossus.
yeah.
I knew them all for years because you sit and you bullshit. You have time in between scenes while they're lighting the stuff. You have no time for that.
None of it.
None. You come on the set, you work, boom.
I learned that when I started working at Days of Our Lives, for every 6 minutes of production time, we get a minute of content. So that means that our day, there's truly no time.
There really is no time.
It is just work, work, work. And I mean, I like that environment. I think it's because of what I'm used to, that if you give me a challenge of 30 pages, it's like, all right, and being married to a writer, I'm gonna get it word perfect, or I'm gonna try.
That's right.
To me, sometimes it feels like almost like improv because you have to go and do it, and you don't know what the other
Yes.
person's going to do necessarily, and you have to let it go at the end of the day.
But
you have to
then
walk
you need-
away.
Then you need, this is so interesting, what you're saying. Acting is really far more interesting than we often give it
It
credit.
is.
It's so subtle. We all know that sometimes we have, at least I do, a highly developed bullshit meter. And where you immediately feel the scene is not real. Not real. Nothing upsets me more than coming away from a scene and saying, damn, that wasn't real. That was not real. And sometimes it depends on who you work with. Some actors are wonderful and real in their reactions. Others are very technical, bum, 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 but you feel nothing. So it's so interesting. And then in preparation for a scene, as you know, sometimes I would get pissed off about something. But I needed
know.
that in order to do the scene.
Yeah,
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It got me going.
yeah.
Yeah.
If I had an angry scene, I said, stop that shit over there. Bah, bah, boom. And you're in it. I feel sorry for it sometimes, having done so, but that's what we do. It is so interesting. This acting thing is fascinating. I worked with Brando in 1965 in a film called Moritori, and he was one of the best ever.
Yeah.
And everything had to be real. He would make it real. He would just suddenly take a look at this cup, you know.
To ground himself in that
Must
moment.
be
Yes.
amazing.
It's just a fascinating process. And then actors who know their dialogue, bum, 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 bum,
It's fun with
but I
those
don't
actors.
feel anything.
It's fun with those actors, the technical ones, to be like, is there anything I can do?
Oh
And
yeah, I do
to
like
try
that.
and get them.
I do like that too. I like
you know.
that.
And
What
it's
can I
also
do to
playful.
what can I do to, ruffle their feathers a little bit, or what can I do to see something in their eyes where they're like, what? You know what I mean?
That's what's fun about
It's
group
fun.
scenes too, where you get a bunch of different,
Oh, yeah.
personalities.
Yeah. I have something to ask you. You've been doing Victor Newman for over 40 years, and do you ever have moments when you're working that you feel nerves or?
Yeah, not scared. No, nothing.
Not scared, but-
Nothing is, no, but there's a good question. I think all of us actors, regardless of how long we have done it, when we have a lot of dialogue, we always feel that certain nervousness. I've been doing
Yeah.
this damn stuff on the show for 45 years. But there are days where you say, wait a minute, what? Then you're late learning it, and I learned it on the day of, mostly. And I said, wait a minute. Whoa. So you get a little, but I need it.
Yeah.
I need it to propel me.
Yeah.
It's like in sports. Again,
Yes.
I don't care how long you train. When you get in the ring with someone, you get nervous.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Nervous boxers. Larry Holmes was a nervous fighter. Very nervous. You very fast, dangerous.
Yeah.
A dull fighter is not dangerous. You go, hey, you're plotting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's the nervous fighters that are dangerous. So when you get into a street fight, watch out with someone who's nervous.
Yeah.
Don't get into a street fight.
I won't.
Anyway,
Unless it's for this
I'd
one.
pray for you.
No, but I this happens to me on set all the time. They write me these sweeping monologues, and the character I play is real stream of mind, and so there's a lot of non sequiturs, and so I don't have anyone to bounce off of. I just have to find my own cues, and it's not Shakespeare, but it's not easy.
no.
And I don't know if do you still hold your script in rehearsal?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't, and even if I know it, I just have to, it's my little security blanket. And we'll have rehearsals sometimes, and I will butcher a monologue and just say half the words wrong and have to keep referring to it. But I know when that camera rolls that I've got it. And then it comes out word perfect.
But isn't that interesting, though?
Yeah.
That you're
It's the
just not
adrenaline.
touching
Trust
upon
in
something. Sometimes we go into a scene and I say, I don't know this shit.
Yeah.
And then you do it and you know it. Have you ever had that?
Yeah.
When
Yes.
you just sit there and say,
Yes.
I don't know this.
Yeah.
I think adrenaline's a pretty
But that's interesting.
remarkable thing.
You mentioned that you look at it the day of, and you're still doing that? Like,
Yeah.
I can't do that. How are you doing that?
I don't know.
You've done that, though, since day one, right?
From
Because I
day one.
remember you got
Almost
that part.
day one.
You got that part. You went to
Yeah.
the set.
Yeah.
You realized you didn't know it, and the script lady came over, and you memorized it.
That's a
That was on
different-
a
that
film.
was-
That was on a film, right? I know,
That was
but it was his
first
one of his
film
first.
I ever did.
Yeah.
I love this story.
You
I
must
love it.
remember, I came from a countryside in Germany and had been in this town for about, by that time, 2 years, 3 years. I was under scholarship at the University of Montana in track and field, discus and javelin shot put. And I came here and I worked for Beacon's Movie Furniture and parked cars and washed dishes and all that. And then a German agency, the Paul Kohner agency, needed a lot of German actors. And I was always good in German high school, interesting, in reading aloud. In German high school, you're often graded on how well you read a classical text. I was always good at that. I don't know why. I come from a rough and tumble countryside, fights, farm work, sports, yet I was good at that. I don't know why. And that helped me. I'm mentioning it because I always got every part I ever went for in cold reading. You know, in the old days,
Yes.
you were given a script, you said, can you...
Yep.
I was always good at that. So that came from that training. I never knew it was training. So, what were we talking about?
How you memorize so quickly
Yes.
in your very first job on
So,
the film.
the first film they sent me out for was near MGM. Next to was an old studio. A dreadful film called Operation Eichmann. They had just caught Adolf Eichmann in Argentina.
Right.
And Werner Klemperer, who played Hogan's Heroes, Colonel Klink in Hogan's Heroes. Do you remember that? See, these old people are
I
young.
remember Hogan's Heroes.
They're young people.
Yeah. I remember Hogan's Heroes.
You do?
Yes.
It's hilarious.
She's
So
a
Werner
lot
Klemp-
older than I am.
Werner Klemperer played Colonel Klink. And Werner Klemperer was the son of a German Jewish conductor called Otto Klemperer. Furtwängler, Klemperer, there were some big ones. He was one of the big ones. His son, Werner, was condemned to playing Nazis here in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Kind of tragic. I played his assistant. I'd never been on a set, knew nothing about the business, never been to the theater except as a visitor. Given the script, they kept on saying blue pages, pink pages, yellow. So what the hell is this? Don't know. I had to take a bus from Sunset Boulevard to Culver City. Try that in the 60s. I mean,
You could have walked faster.
yes. I was an hour and a half late.
Oh, man.
They rushed me. I'd never been to a studio in my life. They rushed me from the gate to the makeup room. I said, what the hell am I doing here? Makeup room.
Makeup.
But I had a certain German arrogance, and I sat there as if I knew. I didn't know shit. I said, an assistant, sir, can we take you to the set? I said, yes, of course. So they take me to the set. I still pretended to know. I didn't know a damn thing. So the director, I forget his last name, said, we want you to stand here, and then when I say action, you walk to the gate, you meet Werner, and you have your dialogue. Have you ever had the feeling that you're being found out?
Yeah.
Have you ever had the feeling where you said, okay, that's it?
I'm having it right now.
That's it, boom, right? So,
You're right.
you know, you get kind of a feeling where you're kind of frozen,
Yeah.
right? And action.
Yeah.
I start walking. I didn't know what I was going to do.
I'm sweating
I'm
like
dead serious.
on your behalf right now.
So, cut. I'd never heard any of this. So apparently the camera, I'm a quick study. So apparently the camera broke down for about 20 minutes. And a very sweet older lady, the script lady, watched me, and she walked up to me and she says, do you know what you have to do? I said, no. She says, this is what you have to learn. Dialogue, right? It was with him.
Yeah.
Not too much, but thank God I learned quickly.
Yeah.
I did the scene. It could have been my first and last scene ever in this town, because they wouldn't have sent me to any other interview.
Yeah.
Yeah. And thank God for her, because if she were anyone else, that could have been your last job.
When I wrote
That she was
my
observing
biography, we tried to find her,
Oh, wow.
Oh.
and she had passed away a year before.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, she knows. There's
Isn't
a way
it
to
amazing how
cosmically.
serendipitous some things are?
Yeah.
You never know, man.
I wonder if she ever followed your career or knew what became of you.
Yeah.
She watches from
That's right.
up above.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, Eric, we've talked about the specificity of what we do, and I love when I hear actors who have worked in daytime and then go, even if they go on to bigger careers in primetime or film, that revere their time in daytime. And I don't love hearing people say that it's a training ground, because I think of it as a professional job.
You better be prepared.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. What do you ever feel like people, because again, you are such an advocate for the genre, do you ever feel like people are looking down upon the work that we do?
Oh, they all do. You know, in this business, I remember colleagues I used to work with, and obviously in nighttime film. And when you meet, you say, so what's up, what's new with you? Is that I'm doing a soap. What? Oh. They're all dead, or they're all gone, or they haven't worked in years.
Any of them
I'm still at it.
Any of them would be lucky to have your career.
45 years afterwards.
Right?
Okay?
Incredible.
Totally.
I love it. So it's a stupid prejudice based on absolute ignorance.
Yeah.
That's all. I had one guy, oh my God. He was kind of looked condescendingly at daytime and this and that. And they asked me if I knew someone who could play a German baron. I said, I know a real one. He was always, oh yes. He was a director, actor. And so he was a real baron. And always condescending about soaps. And I come to work late that morning. The stage manager, Willie Dahl, the stage manager, you don't remember him. Was there before you. Came out laughing and he said, oh, Jesus Christ, you should see this actor. I said, what happened? He said, guy's sweating buckets. He's just sweating. And I had the strange feeling that the guy I had suggested was a real baron. He almost did in his pants. He never showed up again. No. Never.
Yeah.
It
Changed his mind quickly.
It is a very specific job that we do, and I have learned so much from you, not just in this hour, but throughout my time with you on Young and Restless, and I adore you. I truly think you are one of the wisest, most resilient people I've ever known, and you are an inspiration to me. And
he's going on and on and
I'm going on and on because I think we're out of time.
Hug. I mean, seriously.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for coming here. I actually feel like I could
Likewise.
sit and talk to you for a long time. I'm right across the hall. I'm going to start knocking on your door.